Radio Free Santa Clarita presents The Talk of Santa Clarita, a podcast about issues involving Santa Clarita and the surrounding valley. Episode 142, Candidate for California State Senate, Kipp Mueller. And now, let's see what the Talk of Santa Clarita is.
And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest.
Kipp Mueller. Is it Mueller or Mueller?
Mueller, like
Mueller.
the Mueller report. Yep.
Okay, see, because for at least a year of that report going on, I was calling it Mueller.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Mueller
yeah.
report.
Mueller report.
Because it, you like Bueller.
Yeah.
Mueller, so
Yeah.
do people mispronounce your name much?
I'm so used to Mueller and Mueller that it doesn't.
It just rolls off your tongue.
Totally. And so Mueller it originally had an umlaut over the U, so it was Mueller. Mm-hmm. But upon coming to the United States, our family changed to Mueller.
Okay. Hey, it's not a bad name. I mean, you could have Cenk.
Mueller, it's easy enough,
Yeah. So you're running for state senator. It's Wilk's district, Scott Wilk's district,
right,
which
right.
is what, the 23rd?
21st.
21st. Okay.
Yeah.
23rd is Henry Stern.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm sure how illiterate I am about state politics.
Yeah.
Well, let's start out with where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Sacramento.
Sacramento. You grew up in Sacramento and everything?
Did. Yep, I grew up in Sacramento, right outside downtown, like real Sacramento.
And you went to school where?
So I went to Berkeley. Public schools K through 12 in Sacramento, and then to Berkeley for undergrad.
Mm-hmm. What'd you major in?
I majored in rhetoric.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, I know. That's what everybody. So it's one of the few schools that has this major. Yeah. Okay, but I'll give you. It's a science. That's what's cool about it.
You're making that up,
yeah,
right?
No, I swear it's actually true. It's a great question.
Okay, what is rhetoric?
I'll tell you why. So I took poli-sci classes,
Okay.
and I liked poli-sci because I was learning things to know. Mm-hmm. Rhetoric was the first course I took where I was like, oh my God, I'm not learning knowledge and what to know, I'm learning how to think. Mm-hmm. And that was the difference between the two. Mm-hmm. Rhetoric changed sort of my processes of thinking, which was amazing. So it's logic and argument. It dove into political philosophy quite a bit, but it's really logic, argumentation, so you take symbolic logic courses, just stuff like that.
Logical arguments, reasonable points and everything like that.
Yeah,
why
syllogisms.
the hell are you a politician then? Particularly in this day and age.
Well, I want to bring this to politics. Ironically, there's a lot of The funny part is there's a lot of rhetoric in politics, but this is the right form of rhetoric that I want. Yeah, the actual syllogism. Yeah.
I have gotten, there's a lot of these Facebook forums that are very pro-Trump or whatever, and sometimes I'll get on them. And it's very frustrating because you talk about, like, it doesn't matter where you quote the information from. It's just fake news now. It's like you can't fight an argument anymore with logic, it seems. And particularly in politics itself. So, I mean,
if no one will accept the premises, you can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think that that truth will prevail. Mm-hmm. And I feel that there's some people where you just have to appeal to their values, and if the truth isn't fitting their values, they know there's other truths out there they've seen that do fit their values, so they don't want to accept your truths. They want to find their own. So appealing to values is ultimately the way to really appeal to people, but truths are truths, and we have to make sure we're emphasizing them. Yeah.
And you went to law school, Columbia Law School is what you said?
Yeah.
How are your student loans, by the way?
Oh God, how could you bring it up? Yeah, they're brutal, man. I mean, it was. I got some money there. I got merit and need-based scholarships. Mm-hmm. But the school today, I mean, it's without any scholarships, the total $75,000 per year.
I know it's because I was going to go back to grad school. I already have a ton of student loans as it is. I mean, buy a house kind of student loans.
Yeah, me too.
But I was going to go back to grad school for architecture, and the school was more than courting me to come and offered me scholarships and stuff like that. But even with all the scholarships and financial aid, still couldn't make it happen. Yeah. It's very frustrating.
So I studied abroad in Germany, and I had roommates who were getting their PhDs, they were receiving stipends to study, right? They were
Really?
being paid to study.
Jeez.
And when asked, I was talking to them about it, they're like, we can't comprehend why your country doesn't emphasize education enough you should be incentivizing people to be educated.
Yeah.
Like, why are you disincentivizing education? Like, you want to go get your master's or PhD, like, we should find a way to get you to get that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're all better off if you have that degree and that learning.
Yeah.
And that's anyways, that's fundamentally underlies a lot of what I want to talk about later.
So, we'll get into that. So I'm just, so when did you finish school? How old are you? I mean, I got to put
34.
You're 34. You're young. You're young. You're like Katie Hill young.
I'm older than Katie.
Are you?
By a little bit.
So you're an underachiever then.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. I'm a little younger, I suppose, to run. But so many of the issues that we talk, we're at a critical point on so many of these issues that our generation, deserves a voice too on these issues.
Running as a Democrat.
Yeah.
I think the thing I like to ask people, particularly when I'm really sitting down and talking to them about is, when it comes to, because I mean, the point of the Talk of Santa Clarita, a lot of it is trying to ask questions from me specifically, like understanding why a person thinks.
Yeah.
People say sometimes I'm too easy on Republicans, or I'm, or whatever. When I ask them, to me, it's like I'm just trying to understand why you would think that way.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, let's start with very simple. Why are you a Democrat? What is it about being a Democrat that appeals to you?
And I'm not sure Republicans would necessarily disagree with me on this, but I think the Democratic Party captures the notion that person A's success is a good thing for person B.
Mm-hmm.
And
socialism.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that there's a balance to be struck here,
Sure.
but that I want you to get an education because you're going to build a business that's going to employ my cousin, right? That we're in this together, and that this is not a zero-sum game. And unfortunately, I'm not speaking about Republicans in general, but there are some on the right who believe that your success hurts me.
Right.
If you win, I lose.
Yeah.
That mentality to me is damaging,
Yeah.
and I think it's hurt our culture and our society. And I don't see the world that way. And I think Democrats fundamentally understand and know that investment in others is investment in self. That community is critical, and that we all rise together.
Yeah. It always struck me, particularly like after 9/11, there's we're all Americans, we got to get behind everything like that. But when it comes to a lot of things that, like public roads that everybody benefits from, or public education everybody benefits from, the right seems to want to not spend the money on that, or invest in that helps everybody.
Yep. The thing is, you don't have this, for instance, with homelessness, and people are dying on our streets, but you don't have a cataclysmic event in front of you. And so unfortunately it's harder to rally people behind it. But if you were able to visualize how awful this, homelessness, for example, is, and construct a single event, I think a lot of people would come together and be like, we have to stop this together.
So what we need is a massive tidal wave to hit LA.
It's just I know, we need something, some form of, but we need to bring that same energy, that we have other national emergencies, like children and veterans dying on our streets,
right? And
we're just not capturing it the same way. And I feel that's a big part of the problem is lack of empathy.
I want to talk to you very specifically about the homeless problem. But I'm curious, just is this your first time to run for anything?
Yeah. I ran for student senate and president at Columbia Law School.
Hey, how'd that go?
Both went well. I ended up not being president. I went to D.C. for my last semester of school. But
I ran for third grade treasurer and lost.
Oh no!
And pretty much destroyed my political chances after that by going, "You're all fools!
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're bad choice."
Yeah. Well, did you have a campaign slogan or anything like that? Or?
Let me have your money.
Pretty direct. Yeah.
So what made you want to run for state senate? Why not school board? Why not something? What was it about this position that motivated you to run for it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I get asked that a lot, especially being a younger candidate. It's aren't you supposed to start with the city council and work your way?
I think I said that to Katie, actually.
Oh, really?
When she first ran. It's why not something smaller?
Yeah. I don't view running for office as a hierarchical individual, I need to work my way up. This is about me rising. I see it as, what do people know, and where would they be best suited? And to me, I've been working in state law for some time in California. Okay. So the labor code, the code of civil procedure, the civil code. I mean, business and professions code. I work within all these codes and know the statutory frameworks.
As a lawyer?
Yeah, as a lawyer.
What is the actual practice you do?
I'm a workers' rights attorney. Okay. I do plaintiff employment, representing employees when they're harmed by large corporations. And then I am a pro bono asylum attorney as well, represent asylum seekers.
Okay, nice.
In detention center in the east side of this district.
Gotcha.
But I'm very familiar with state law. It would make little sense for me, frankly, to run for city council because I'm not that suited for it. I don't know the municipal code as well. And the passions and the things I want to work on are things that are at the state level, which we can talk about. But homelessness being a big one that we already mentioned, education. I mean, you can hit pretty much anything. What's beautiful about our federalist system is the federal government's actually limited in terms of what it's supposed to do, and the remainder of all powers go to the states. So the states have tremendous power, and except for things that are preempted and states can't do otherwise, because the federal government has regulated those things, everything else is left to the states. And so you have enormous potential. You can dream, and the state can do it.
Well, you brought it up, so I was going to talk about a little bit more of immigration, but let me ask you about states' rights.
Sure.
In particular, our Attorney General has challenged Trump, I think, 50-something times right now in federal suits or whatever for states' rights on different things, particularly with the immigration policy.
Yeah.
Are any of these wasteful suits, wasteful lawsuits in the sense of even like the one about sanctuary cities and everything, and protecting the immigrants and stuff, is that within the right of the state to do that?
Yeah, I think so. So sanctuary cities and states, to me, as well within the states.
Well,
right.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question, because this is what bothered me. I don't support Trump's immigration policies, and I've made that very clear to every Republican candidate out there. Good. But a few years ago, back during the Obama administration, Arizona had the present papers policy.
Yeah.
It was ruled that immigration itself was controlled by the federal government.
Yeah.
Therefore, they had no right to demand that kind of, a policy or have that kind of policy on immigrants in the state. If you agree with the idea that sanctuary cities and the state has certain rights to protect on immigration, does that mean you also support the Arizona law?
No.
Well, but isn't it the same principle, though?
Let me draw the distinction.
Okay.
The laws in Arizona were stricter than the federal immigration laws, and so what they wanted to do was extend further laws. And what the courts said was that this is the plenary power of the federal government to, if they wanted to strengthen immigration laws, the federal government would do it. What we're doing in California is we're saying we're not challenging the federal government's ability to enforce its immigration laws.
Yeah.
We're saying the state's not going to enforce federal immigration laws. So in other words, we're not going to expend our resources as a state to enforce your laws, federal government.
That's real close.
So what it's saying. But let me draw an example. So, for instance, what we're telling police in cities is don't go assist ICE and arrest children at schools. The state police should not be going around enforcing federal laws at schools, right? That's fair, because those aren't our laws as a state. And when it comes to law enforcement, these are two, federal and state law enforcement are totally separate. And so all we're saying is state enforcement mechanisms don't need to go around enforcing federal laws, and they don't usually do it. And so that includes with federal immigration laws.
You know what? You convinced me.
Okay, excellent.
Case closed. End of show. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys.
No, I always kind of wondered that, because when you break it down just on the idea of immigration itself, for state enforcement and things, it looked like you can't agree with one and disagree with the other. You know what I mean? So thank you for clearing that up for me.
For sure.
So this is your first time to run, we said, but have you been involved with other campaigns in the past? Been an active Democrat activist, and what other campaigns? Who have you worked with, and what have you done?
Sure. So 2008, I worked first for now Mayor Steinberg in Sacramento, but he was state senator at the time, and so I got a taste for state Senate work actually when working there. And I worked for President Obama's 2008 campaign.
Did you meet him?
No. Which seriously,
Zach and Katie Hill's campaign got to meet him.
It hurts me so bad. It's the only thing I'm so afraid of how I would respond. I usually not one to be particularly starstruck. I don't know how I would speak in front of him.
Zach said he's just the coolest guy in the room. He's just got that vibe.
Yeah.
Being, no matter where you stand politically, he's just got the vibe.
Totally.
Being the coolest guy on the world.
Totally. There's people like that. I think Clinton carries that too. When he walks in a room, it's that energy.
Yeah.
There's another guy actually at Columbia Law School, a professor. He's LBJ's nephew, and he had that energy.
Really?
Too. He walks in, it's like this magnetism where everybody's like, whoa, and your focus. So anyway, I don't know how I would. So anyway, but I worked for him, and it was a great experience. And then in 2012, I organized the Columbia Law School trip to Ohio, where about 50 students went and did voter protection work as well as just canvassing for Obama in Ohio.
Okay.
What was very cool was we were in Cuyahoga County in Cleveland, and we're watching CNN the night of the election after doing all that work. We were literally sprinting door to door for 3 days, like so dead. And we're in this convention center, and Wolf Blitzer goes, it's official, Cuyahoga County has gone 81% for Obama, which means Ohio is now with Obama, which means Obama has won the presidency. And we're in Cuyahoga County.
I can imagine.
What just happened? And I still have the shirt with all this wine on it from that night. And just people just like, it was, I'll never forget that. So anyway, so worked on that. I worked on Hillary in 2016 a little bit, and I went to Denver for get out the vote for about a week.
Were you were you always a Hillary supporter, or?
No, I actually I had a hard time. I think Bernie did good things for the party, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Bringing like the minimum wage issue and income inequality into the forefront.
Yeah.
I loved that about him, and still do, and I'm glad he emphasizes those things. I'm not so sure. I was very much like, I don't, I could support whoever ends up winning this.
I love a lot of what Bernie says, but there are two problems I have with him. Is and I think I've made this clear when I had some Bernie supporters on last time, before in the last election. There is the, first of all, okay, great, you're for Medicare for all, and I don't care how much it costs personally, but I think it's a great idea, but there are 425 members of Congress, or 435, excuse me, and 100 members of the Senate, and you got to get through all of them on some level to get that through. It's just not going to happen, ever. Yeah. And I mean, at least not in this generation. And the other thing is, I've always kind of taken aback by the. And you see it on the Trump side too, a little bit of the promise of the magic candy and the devotion. A lot of the they're not voters, they're fanatical, and it just, I think blind faith in any kind of leadership is a dangerous thing. I
agree. And one of the things I said after Hillary had won to progressives, one of the things I posted online was, as we all know, like, progressivism, or just like whatever you stand for, the movement that you're behind doesn't live or die by a single person. No person holds it, and it doesn't live or die by them. And so you need to fight for progressivism if you believe in progressivism. Right. You don't need to fight only for one person. That person isn't the whole movement. And you have to keep that in mind.
And I think Hillary Clinton, one of the things she talked about in 2008 when she was running, the Gay Coalition, I don't remember which specific one it was doing interviews with the candidates one by one. And they talked about Clinton's vote for the state's right for gay marriages.
DOMA?
DOMA, thank you. And she defended it based on the simple fact that if they didn't sign DOMA, it was going to create a push to outlaw gay marriage nationally. So it was more of like, let's be pragmatic about it and figure out a way to prevent that from happening and hope that over time it evolves, which it did. To me, that's someone that's thinking very forward thinking about what can be done now, what can we prevent from happening. And
that's a good case for incrementalism. And where I fall, I would just say some sort of, I believe in boldness and pragmatism and some sort of balance between the two. When it's appropriate to be more incremental, and when you should be bold, you should be bold.
Where should you be bold?
Homelessness.
Okay, let's talk about homelessness. Because I used to, as people who watch the show and know that I worked for a homeless shelter for 12 years.
Awesome.
And it became something I really opened my eyes, not really knowing anything about it before I started working for the organization, about the way things are with the homeless situation, particularly with kids. Because my shelter, the shelter I work for, was for homeless teenagers. But a lot of, again, as I said, I get on these Facebook forums and these conservative viewpoints and things, and they're blaming a lot of it on the Democrats. Because there are homeless people out there that have jobs. They just can't afford to live. Is it the fault of the Democrats?
I mean, it's California's fault. It's a fault of Democrats and Republicans.
But the homeless situation has intensified since the Democrats have had a supermajority, has it not?
It's continued on its path. I don't see it as being. I think that there's just problems that have not been sufficiently addressed, and it's partly Democrats' fault. Some Republicans as well. It's something that's manifested over decades. It's a housing problem. It's a healthcare problem. This is what makes it, of course, so complicated, and I don't think it's an easy fix.
Well, what would you do? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's cool.
Well, what would you? What is this? What is the cure? I know it's not a 25 words or less answer, but what is the answer in 25 words or less?
Yeah, exactly. So the 2-word answer is housing first. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yeah. Which you and I have talked about the fact that Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
I need more Red Bull. It has a very conservative area. Has started to just build apartments for homeless, and it's actually proved to be cheaper than, in other words, housing first, deal with the issues that have the problems that cause the homelessness afterwards.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to, for example, and not. There's plenty of homeless people who do not use drugs, but it's hard to kick a drug habit if you have one on the streets.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that from my own experience of interviewing a lot of the kids that were coming on to the shelter I worked at. They would take the drugs to escape the reality of what they're dealing with, or even just to stay awake, to stay safe.
Yeah, exactly. That's the story I talk about quite a bit as I read this article about a girl who was 12 or 13, who used meth because she was told by one of a mentor on the streets who was helping her get by and survive that it'll keep her awake so she doesn't have to worry about being sexually assaulted.
Yeah, they have to be that aware of their surroundings always.
And this is unconscionable.
Yeah. It's, the horrors that I learned about, I mean, to me, I still have trouble wrapping my head around it. Even talking to people that have actually experienced that, of what it's like to be on the streets and dealing with it, particularly young kids, 18, 15, 13 years old, being kicked out of their homes because they're gay or coming out of foster care. Because I don't know if a lot of our viewership knows it, but when you're 18 years old and you're in foster care, and if you're in high school and you turn 18 in December, you're out the door, and you still got to finish school. I mean, that's a problem.
Sleep in their cars while they're in school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's or if they can even bother to do that, I mean, some just give up, you know. So housing first. You're suggesting that we create a major housing program.
We need to build a lot of housing, but
that'll take years.
It'll take a little while. No, I don't have a 2-week fix. I wish I did. The truth is, this will take time and investment. The good news is, so first off, State Senate, you have a 4-year term, so I can dedicate quite a bit of time to it, and it's the first thing I want to work on. And what we need to do is build out communities with small efficiency homes. They can be 400 square feet or so. You can 3D print some of these homes and then have, I've talked with the building trades and unions about being involved as well.
What about, as far as doing that, you're talking about the 3D printing and stuff like that. I mean, there are homes now that are built literally like out of Lego blocks, almost giant Lego blocks and things. I mean, it's real simple. And even with the change in state law allowing for, to turn your garage into an apartment for someone or something like that. I can't remember what the specific law is.
Right.
But ADAs, I think they're called. Or
totally. We need to do. We need to get creative about it because we're way behind, and we're still behind in terms of the amount of housing being built today compared to what's the supply necessary. Even if we had the right amount of supply today, next year we'd be behind, and so we still haven't fixed that problem. We're not building nearly enough housing.
It seems like California is just growing at a level that the government's not able to catch up to.
I think so, but I think we could. And I think we just need to build a lot of housing and more multi-family units as well, and allow for that. We just need way more housing. And of course, it's more complicated than that as well. We need to deal with healthcare prices if we're going to prevent the next person from becoming homeless because they couldn't afford the medical bill that came unexpectedly, right? But these communities need to have treatment centers. They need to have case managers to help people rebuild their lives. I mean, you've seen it can be very complicated. Everybody has a different story.
Yeah, I actually. I try to stay off my soapbox on the show, but I always fail.
Give it to me.
No, the thing I was going to say is, for people that think they understand homelessness, the best thing they can do is actually contact a shelter someplace in their local area and ask to take a tour, because they love to give tours, obviously, because they want to make people aware of the situation and talk to a few people that have actually experienced. They're not. Most homeless people are not like dangerous or drug addicts or anything like that. They are people that have just suffered some incredibly bad luck and are looking for a chance to bring themselves back into society as best they can.
As much people as we are people, and we have to always remind people of that, unfortunately. That shouldn't have to be a reminder. By the way, shout out to Bridge to Home.
Yeah, Bridge to Home, great organization.
Wonderful job. I go there every now and then and bring food and talk to people, and you're right, everybody has a different story. But these are all just human beings seeking a comfortable life, and we have the means. We are the 5th largest economy in the world here in California. There's no excuse, and we have unreal amounts of wealth in this state. I mean, people that have just such exorbitant wealth that can't be comprehended. This can be done.
Well, I think some people would argue that one of the problems that is that the state of California taxes too much, is it isn't made it unaffordable to live out here, and that people. Or conversely, that with I think it was Prop 13 or whatever, the property tax law, that people aren't paying their fair share when it comes to property values. What is your response to that?
Well, I think I like the. I mean, I think that people. I don't think so. Taxes on people that are lower income. I think are. We could perhaps explore the idea of bringing those taxes down further, but it's a progressive tax that, middle and higher income people, I think that the taxes, we need people to pay their fair share. And the thing is, we need the resources. We can get to this later, but for example, we're 41st in the country in terms of per pupil spending in our education system. So if we have some sort of abundance of money from taxes, we're not showing it in our education system. So the money's not getting to where it needs to go, and we need more resources.
Let me ask you, as an attorney and someone running for state government, is Elizabeth Warren's tax on the billionaires tax, is that constitutional?
That's a great question. I would have to look into that. I'm sure they've done their research and that they've found a way to make it constitutional. I don't know any reason to believe it's
the reason I bring it up is why can't we tax Zuckerberg, or and
specifically Target? Do you mean, or do you just mean?
Let's just tax the Zuckerberg law.
$50
billion a year.
We'll have all your money, please.
And problem solved. No, just like, for example, he is someone living in California who has an exorbitant amount of wealth. Why can't we have like a billionaire's tax on? Because this is probably the wealthiest state in the country. Maybe New York, maybe I don't know, whatever. But when I think of the people that live in this area, not to say anything bad about Mr. Spielberg, but Mr. Spielberg, you're worth a lot of money. Mr. Zuckerberg, you're worth a lot of money, and you claim to have liberal positions. What's wrong with throwing a little bit extra money our way, to the people and to the government?
Totally, and it's not like I agree, and I think we could. I'm not looking for ways to create new taxes around California. I agree with you that we have to be concerned about it, and that affordability is tough in California. I don't want to increase any taxes of any kind. I'm not looking to do that.
So you're going to have to cut somewhere then.
See, but when it comes to billionaires, billionaires, there's billionaires like Warren Buffett who say themselves, I don't need all this. Jeff Bezos said in an interview that he makes so much money, he has no idea what to do with it, so he invests in space. He's not interested in space. He just does it because what else do you do with all this money?
Yeah. How much is enough, Mr. Mulray? How much is enough? How much better can you eat? How much better can you just sleep?
Exactly. And so he's saying that. And
Chinatown reference, by the way.
I don't. Yeah. What was that reference?
Chinatown reference.
Oh, Chinatown.
Jack Nicholson to. Oh God, I'm blanking again, but I should know it because he's a great director. John Huston.
Okay.
He says who was trying to monopolize the water system in the valley in the 40s, and he says, why bother? Why bother? How much better can you eat? How much better can you sleep?
Yeah.
And things like that.
Got it.
See the movie, by the way. Great film.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jack Nicholson, I'm down for it.
Oh, Chinatown, though. Perfect film.
Okay.
Perfect
awesome.
film.
Excellent.
So
all I was going to say was we have this. There's a balance to be struck here, and we have this system where Bezos says that, and a month later there's Amazon workers who are wearing diapers to work because they're so afraid to take a rest break. That doesn't work. That's ultra hyper capitalism. That's extreme exploitation of workers, and we can't make that society work for the long haul. And so there's a balance here. Not looking to punish the rich or anything like that. I think prosperity is great. And people should seek prosperity wherever they can find it. Just want to see a society where people aren't using methamphetamines to survive on the streets. That's what we're asking.
You brought up the Amazon thing with the diapers and stuff like it. Is that, as a attorney for workers' rights, is that something?
It's a solid lawsuit.
I was just wondering if someone was like, if you're fishing for a client, that screams of something there,
Oh, for sure.
But
I didn't get that case, but yes, but that happens, right? And yes, it's illegal, but that doesn't. There's worker exploitation that happens all the time that lawyers don't catch on to, especially the undocumented people around California. People get exploited all the time. And what I'm trying to say is beyond, yes, it's technically illegal, but we shouldn't live in a society that that has that kind of wealth disparity in the first place.
Right. Would you say that the housing situation is probably, and homelessness, is that your number one issue going in? Or
I could talk to you quite a bit about environmental issues. I'm very concerned about the environment.
Let's talk about that right now.
Sure.
Because one of the things that I've been trying to get into school. I've been studying architecture and trying to get into architecture graduate school. But the thing that's been coming up a lot about is sustainable green housing. CEQA being an issue, which I can never remember what it's. California Environmental
Quality Act.
Quality Act. Thank you. Just for those people that don't know what it stands for, including myself.
Understandably so. This is in the weeds for sure.
A lot of people have said that CEQA needs to be revised, that it's dated, that it's preventing a lot of housing from being built because of the tight restrictions for the environment and things. Do you think that needs to be reevaluated or tightened or strengthened? Or because every time you build a house, you are affecting the environment on some level. Every time you build a structure of any type, you're going to affect the environment. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there could be ways to streamline it or make it faster. I don't mean weaken it, though. I think it's important. There needs to be some sort of EIR done. We have to understand the environmental impact of what we're doing. We just have to. And one of the things that I reach out to people, especially in the business community, who have concerns about CEQA and environmental issues in general and how they're slowing down business, is that this is investment for the future, and that it's very clear from studies that $1 we invest now in protecting our environment goes, it's immeasurable how much it saves us in the future, not to mention that this is an existential threat and not nearly a financial one. And so, to me, doing this stuff on the front end and protecting our environment, even if we're being a little overzealous or if we're erring on the side of being especially cautious, I don't want to do it at the expense of business, at the expense of building housing. And so there's a balance, again, to be struck here, but I think CEQA plays an important role.
It's that yin and yang kind of thing. It's like we need more housing, but CEQA almost slows things down because of the requirements of it. But.
So I have thought about the idea. I would need to explore this further, but I've talked with some electeds already, actually, about the idea of declaring a state of emergency when it comes to specifically dealing with homelessness and whether there can be ways to make CEQA work with some sort of negotiation that can be struck to build the housing quickly when it comes to these communities. while still maintaining and ensuring that they are environmentally friendly too.
I'm going to throw out an idea to you, just to get it planted and a seed planted in you for possible ideas.
Cool.
Because I don't actually expect you to know much about it, but there is for environmental use for building a thing called hempcrete.
I don't know about
it.
Okay, yeah. Exactly. Sounds like concrete made of hemp or something?
It literally is concrete made out of hemp. A limited amount of dust. It works almost as good as concrete, if not better in some levels for insulation. It's cheap, easy to use. Now that hemp, I guess, in all forms is now legal. That's something. Let me plant that seed to you that should be looked into for CEQA as a practical way to deal with a lot of the issues that CEQA might have about the environment and everything like that, because it's incredibly environmentally friendly.
I think that's great.
Obviously.
And hemp can be up for so many things, and this stupid stigma that's stuck with us for way too long.
I know, man. They expect me to play the Grateful Dead every time I bring up hempcrete, but it's not. I don't like the Grateful Dead. But it's more about just read what it says about the stuff. It really is amazing. When you talk about the environment, it's as effective and better for the environment. Because
it's great.
A lot of people don't even realize that, with the concrete itself, the amount of dust that's created just by making the concrete to bring to.
Totally.
To make cement or whatever,
it's extremely energy costing to build concrete. Yeah, totally. No, that's great. Yeah. I'll explore that. Hempcrete. Yeah.
Hempcrete.
I'm into it.
It's on YouTube, just so you know. So there's a lot of videos about it.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, cool.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to go back a little bit about where you're from and everything like that. Because
environment, one last thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
I want to tell, especially people, journalists like yourself.
I am not a journalist.
Yes,
dude.
we talked about this before the podcast.
Right,
absolutely, you are.
Whatever.
And you do a great service. But what I wanted to say was, I think that it's incumbent upon journalists who believe in the science of climate change to begin making this a litmus test. Mm-hmm. And not only, if you're not willing to accept the science behind climate change, you're not qualified for public office anymore. I believe that should be enforced. And if you're willing to accept the science, but you're engaging in cognitive dissonance, where you believe the science, but you're still not willing to push for the politics that promote the science, you're also not qualified. And before you even get into the other issues, you got to pass that test first. Yeah, because that's where we're at right now.
I'm actually, everybody says that climate change is an existential threat, but if I could get it out of my mouth this morning, but. I'm at a point now where I'm having nightmares. It's because it's gotten to a point where it's so close to we're at a point of no return. Past that point of no return. It scares the crap out of me. It really does, because I think about who's our president right now, who just won't even listen to his own advisors that are saying it's a major problem. And I go, we're doomed. It scares me to death.
And the wildfires are right here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you don't believe that they're affected by climate change, you're just wrong.
No, it's because they're not brushing, they're sweeping.
The rakes. We got to get the rakes.
Got to get lots of rakes. So, what is your position on rakes?
I'm a big raker.
You're a big raker.
I do want to mention too that when Trump was threatening to withhold FEMA money to deal with the wildfires, every state legislator should have been up in arms against Trump, saying something back to him, saying that's absolutely unacceptable. That these are people's lives and their. The homes they grew up in that are at risk right now, and that we stand 100% against you withholding FEMA money, and that's unpatriotic and wrong. Didn't hear that from everybody, and that would have been nice. So
I don't think he would have listened.
Maybe not, but you have a symbolic role as well as a state leader, right? To stand up in those moments. Absolutely. And we should, so anyways.
Okay, I want to talk about two other things that have come up, because there are other Democrats running in the race here. And I know I'm going to get some flack for not putting them on the show. To be honest with my audience, I only have so much time in my life. It costs a lot of money to run in a race. You are, from what I understand, the leading fundraiser right now. So, and friendly with most of the Democratic operatives in the Valley and the area. But there have been accusations from particularly one very vocal opponent of yours, friend of the show, by the way. He's been on before. that you're a carpetbagger. Do you? How do you address that? And I have not gone easy on when Cenk Uygur, I'm finally learning how to pronounce his name. Was on. I really hammered him about the fact that he was considered a carpetbagger coming into the district. Yeah. Tell me your feelings on that. How do you?
I live here.
Case closed.
Start there, yeah.
But how long have you lived here, though?
So almost about a year. Almost a year.
Did you move here to run for this race?
So I can tell the story.
Tell the story.
This medium is great with a podcast because I can actually. Okay. When I'm asked in 30 seconds, respond to that, then it's kind of like, okay, well, this is they're looking for a soundbite, but this I can actually answer the question. So I grew up in Sacramento. Yeah. Small town upbringing with a very strong sense of community in my neighborhood, and that was even further fortified. So in high school, I had I had basically two best friends that I hung out with all the time in high school, and one of them passed away, along with another friend in a car accident.
Sorry.
And so the way that the community came together, it's like all of your friends are family, and neighbors are friends. Yeah. And I don't know who I'd be without that sense of community that I had when that happened. And so a very deep part of my identity is having community, and it's a necessary, and I think about it a lot because we're pack animals that really need. Sure. We grow up with community. It takes a village, right? And we live in these isolating big cities where you just don't have, ironically, you have all these people around you, but you have no sense of community. Right. And I think that creates isolation and social problems. So, grew up in Sacramento. I went to, like I said, Berkeley. I lived in San Francisco. I lived in New York. I lived in San Francisco again, and then LA. It was kind of like jobs I was looking for that were cool, and opportunities. Didn't really grasp. I still had Sacramento as like the community that I knew, but wasn't really grasping that there was like an emptiness of sorts because I didn't have community for so long. Right. So I have a political organization, or had one. I'm a little involved, but not really anymore. But supporting young Democrats around the country, and Katie was one of the Democrats we were supporting, and so I was spending a lot of time here. I also have been working on, for the better part of 2 years, a lawsuit against Southern California Edison, representing a worker, or the family of a worker who died on a project for Southern California Edison in the high desert. Okay. And I was working at the ICE detention center representing asylum seekers in Adelanto. So driving up here quite a bit. Right. And I was here and I'll just say, as a side note, I've put in the work up here in the sense that I was bringing hundreds of volunteers from LA, and I was up here most weekends working to flip CA-25 in early to mid 2018 too. Okay. So, and helped with Christy and Katie. So I was up here quite a bit, and I got to know the community, and it was just like I didn't realize what was missing until I was here and got to know people here, and just felt like such a strong sense of community again, like what I had grown up with, and realized how much I missed that. At the same time, of course, I was also I was also engaged in the activism that was going on here, and wanted to continue to contribute to it. Right. And like, I'm not the first person, and I am not the last to move here. This is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Yeah, sure. And tons of people moved here since I have, and for good reason. It's a great place to live. It's got great schools. It's safe. It's a wonderful place. And it's cheaper too. I don't disagree with you on that, but answer the one simple question. Yeah. Did you move here specifically to run, though? I ran here anticipating that I would get involved in politics in a big way. Okay. I didn't know. I was here before I decided. I mean, I hadn't decided I was going to run. The argument could be back that if you win, you're going to be spending most of your time in Sacramento. Yeah, I know, and I'll be in Sacramento, and I'll be here. Yeah, both. Yeah. Okay. And you split your time. Okay. And the good news too is I'm plugged in Sacramento already, so I can really do a service for this community, because the truth is, the way the politics work in Sacramento, if you know the right people, you can get a lot done. Yeah. And that's part of my pitch more generally about why I'm a great candidate for this district. No, I mean, I knew I was going to be heavily involved in politics here, no doubt. Yeah. But it was because of the work that was already being done here, because of you guys, all the wonderful work. Well, Journalism is a part of it.
No. Again, guy with a microphone just happens to have conversations with people.
You're making people
and I don't
aware.
knock doors. I don't give money. I don't do any of that because I don't like people.
So
But anyway, go ahead.
Fair enough. But you spread the word and you get people engaged, and that's a wonderful service. So I was really excited about the organic growth of activism happening here, and I saw that this place was changing for the better in a big way.
Yes,
and
it has definitely been changing, evolving quite a bit in the past couple of years.
I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing that in LA. It's a stagnant, oversaturated place to run in politics, and I really liked it here.
Now, one criticism someone has said to me about you as where do you rank yourself as and we did the debate for the local Democratic club where we were asking, do you consider yourself a progressive? Where are you on the scale? Some would say that you're too careful as a Democrat, as a politician. Do you think, do you want to give the litmus test on where you are as a Democrat? This
is actually not, again, this medium is so much more helpful because in that debate, like when I had 30 seconds, I can't explain what I'm saying. I'm not. So let me give an example where I'm not careful is, honestly, how hard I push we'll go back one more time to homelessness, how hard I push for a right to housing, and that's not like a politically crafty move. That's not earning me points, because there's a lot of people that are concerned that that's too bold, that that's aggressive, that it's costly, even though I have a very strong argument for why it's actually financially smart as well. But all that being said, the positions I take aren't, they're not careful. I mean, I'm bold on a lot of issues. What I was trying to say was, it's actually what Dana said after me, which was the label itself. I mean, for example, where would you rank me now that you know where I stand on homelessness? Am I a progressive? I don't know, like, man. Exactly. So this is like this two-dimensional plane that you're putting me on, right? And it's just like, where are you 1 to 10?
Well, let's do 1 to 10.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, take a given issue and we can figure out kind of where I stand. And then if you want to put it into this two-dimensional space, you can. I don't know how to do it.
But some would argue back that, and even
but that's a cop-out or something.
It is a bit of a cop-out because you're being vague. You can't say, I'm on a Bernie level with my progressivism, or basically, do you support the Green New Deal, for example?
So what? I don't know what that means. This is the problem. This is where
Medicare for all.
Medicare. So that I can talk about. That's a concrete. So Green New Deal is an ideal. It has a lot of. It doesn't have actual specific fixes, and I'll tell you, I'm very specific about what I want to see environmentally. We can get into that, but from multi-strata agroforestry to silvopastures, I've studied it carefully and believe a lot in the kind of changes we need to make when it comes to our environment. I'm not copping out because and those are progressive ideas, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
I suppose, So anyway, going back,
Medicare for all.
So I think that universal preventive care is critical and that we need to get there.
Because we were close, weren't we, for state government to passing something for California, but the issue was on paying for it.
Paying for it, exactly. So first off, at the federal level, I'd like to see it.
What about on state level?
At the state level, if we can pay for it. So that's the thing is, so the federal government can afford it. And they can afford the upfront cost, and the fact is, if you put the upfront cost there, it's cheaper to provide everyone with preventive care, or not provide everyone, but have a system of preventive care than it is to have people revisiting ERs every 2 weeks and racking up hospital bills, because people are seeking the health care either way. It doesn't matter whether they have the preventive care or not; they're going to get health care access, and then it's going to be a lot more costly. Not to mention, it's wrong for them not to have preventive care. Okay, so. At the federal level, but at the state level, it needs to be. We have to balance our budget at the state level, and so upfront costs are hard to take on. Right now, what we would need is a waiver on payroll taxes in order to be able to pay for it, because a lot of Medicare, Social Security taxes would need to come to us to cover some sort of Medi-Cal for all program. If we could get a waiver from this federal government, no chance. But if there's a federal government that we could get a waiver from, and the numbers work, I'm for it. I want to see preventive care for everyone and health care for everyone. But it's got to be something we can afford. I will tell you, my one fear is it's easy to just hop on and say Medi-Cal for all. Of course, I want that, right? And it's easy for me to just be like, just let's do that. The fear I have is if we don't do the accounting properly and we account for accrual and everything to make sure that we're affording this properly, that it doesn't work out very well in California because we didn't set up a budget to afford it.
Right.
The Republicans see that and say, look at what happens when you try to do Medi-Cal or Medicare for All program. Can't work. California failed. Can't do it federally. And it doesn't happen.
I see.
That's my concern. And so if we can make it work and we can budget it properly, I'm down for it. I think that it's wrong that people don't have access to health care. Absolutely. And so we have to find a path to it. But it's got to be the right one. This is where I mention bold pragmatism. That's kind of that's where I stand. Like, I want to be bold enough to get people this,
I wouldn't
but
even
I'm
use
pragmatic.
The word I use that word with my Cenk interview, and they're like the comment sections on YouTube. They're just like hanging me by the word.
Oh, is that like a buzzword that people hate? Okay.
Apparently so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry for those of you who hate that word. I suppose I'll say, like, I want to be bold about these things. I just want to make sure we do make them work.
Yeah. Okay.
Call it. I won't call it pragmatism. Whatever you want to call it.
I'm just telling you that they got after me on that one.
Good to know. I mean, I'm a first-time candidate. I'm learning. I didn't know pragmatism was one of the buzzwords. So I'll keep that in mind.
No, but to me, that makes that I look for that in a candidate. Yeah. Understanding things. Yeah. So, what is your? We're going to talk. I want to talk specifically about some candidates in general, not your rivals, but I will say one of the main reasons I decided to have you on the show first, if I had the other candidates on, it's a maybe not, I don't know if I'm going to have time, but the reason I decided to have you on first is because on the issue of when we did a debate for the DAA and we brought up homelessness, you're the only one that came up with very specific ideas. Yeah. And because that's an issue I'm incredibly sensitive to, it just kind of, that's the guy I want to talk to.
I'm glad.
So just to explain to everybody why, not to say anybody had any bad answers, it was just that they were more vague. And you had specific ideas, and that stuck out to me. So.
And we can't be vague about that issue. We can't be vague about environmentalism either. I can get into very specifics with you on that too, because it's incumbent upon somebody running for state politics today to know everything about these issues, especially the environment. Like, we don't have time to sit around and slowly.
I don't know, man. You didn't know about hempcrete.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't. I didn't, but now I know.
Now you know. Yeah. So now knowing's half the battle in GI Joe. So. Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit. I wanted to know, who are you supporting for Congress?
I'm supporting Christie, and
do you think she's doing a good job as a state assembly member?
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll, you know what? I haven't endorsed anybody for Congress, but I will say, anybody who's heard my last interview with her for Assembly, I could not have praised anybody more about how great a job she was doing as an Assembly
Phenomenal
person.
Job.
Astounding.
Yeah.
But the real question I have for you is, you're going up against Scott Wilk, who is known to be a moderate, known to reach across the aisles. Yeah. Very likable guy. Yeah. Scott's heard me say this too, by the way, that some say he's the devil, but I'll tell you this: I one of my most enjoyable podcasts was with Scott. He's a very charming guy.
I met him. Yeah, he was a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Which
I'm not running against him because I don't think he's a nice guy.
No, I know. I just kind of, electability is on whether you want to have a beer with somebody sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
And I will say this just to, I'm assuming that Scott's listening to this. I made a joke at that debate about I've had a beer with Scott and it wasn't that great.
Oh, yeah.
He texted me.
Oh, are you serious?
He said, "Why would you say that? We've never had a beer together." I'm like, I was kidding. I thought everybody knew it was a joke.
That's funny.
But apparently there were some spies in the audience.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
So just to clarify to the audience out there, I have never had a beer with Scott. I've had a glass of water with him. So during a podcast, he's a nice guy, and I was just going for a joke there, and I hope nobody took that serious. But anyway, but he's from this area, which seems to count a lot, particularly, for Congress for sure, and I think for state senate it might as well. He's well known. He's got probably the best campaign slogan in the world. Got Wilk. Known to reach across the aisle. Popular with some Democrats. How are you going to beat this guy?
Yeah. So first off, I have no interest in any personal I said, I met him.
I would love to have Scott back on the show again, to be honest.
Nice guy as far as I don't know him super well, but he seemed nice. Yeah.
And I'll even say this is how nice a guy Scott is.
Yeah.
Scott actually did a job recommendation for me, so
cool.
wrote a letter of reference. So
nice.
That's how good a guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So full disclosure to the audience out there.
So and look, we just have very different when it comes to policy, we're very different, you know? And so I want this to be totally, set the personal completely aside and just have a real conversation, and a friendly one, but a real conversation about the path forward for California and this district.
Well, what's he doing wrong, though? I mean,
sure.
You know, I mean, if I'm a moderate Democrat, and I'm going, well, you know, I like Scott, and he seems to be doing things. Why should I vote for you over Scott, other than the fact that you're affiliated with my party?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few. I mean, if you care about environmental issues,
does he not care about environmental issues?
Not him personally, but he's had votes that are problematic.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Is where are the stances? What are the votes that he's done that concern you, that you would be better in that position?
So, I mean, I'll give an example. There was a vote recently on 3D printing of guns. And there's been a lot of, legislation recently around guns that he voted against. And it was basically to have better control mechanisms to prevent people from getting access to 3D printed guns at random.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah, and like red flag laws. He's been, and these red flag laws, there's one, for example, that allows teachers, we already have some red flag laws that allow parents and other people to intervene if they feel that somebody's dangerous and has a gun, like a family member or a student. Those can save lives. I mean, very easy to trace lives being saved to red flag laws and people who've been arrested. And he votes against them. And that's a huge difference between us. And that deeply concerns me. On the environment, I feel that we need to move quickly, and he's pretty consistently voted against some pretty standard bills that help the environment, that are putting us on a track to becoming a more sustainable, healthy world. And to me, that's when I talk about the litmus test, that bugs me a lot, because I see it as, I get why, in the short term, it's helpful to vote against those bills if you have money coming from Chevron or whatever else. Yeah. But we don't have time for it, and it's not fair to our generation. I met a junior high student at a parade that I was recently at, and she came up to me and she said, "Are you going to do stuff on the environment and climate change?" And I said, "Yeah, I definitely want to." And she was like, "Well, please do, because by the time I'm the age that I get to run for office, it'll be already determined for our generation." That's why I have nightmares,
because I have an 8-year-old kid, and I worry about, for the first time, I mean, we've always been, growing up, you've always been aware of climate change, got to do something. But now it's like, I look at my 8-year-old kid and I go, crap. Yeah. I mean, it may be too late for him unless we do something now.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah, and that's where I have.
And so, so for example, pushing. The Public Utilities Commission to come down harder on the utilities, making sure that they're transitioning into clean energy and quickly. Yeah. Also, changing our ways of agriculture, changing the ways, even making sure that we have composting and sustainable food practices. Food waste is the number 3 cause of carbon emissions throughout the world.
Is it really?
And
crazy.
That's a solvable problem.
Yeah. The Impossible Burger.
Yeah, and just making sure that restaurants and grocery, they don't, not only, so food waste, it costs a lot to produce the food, but also when you throw it out, it emits a ton of carbon and methane into the atmosphere when it's just left out and thrown away. Yeah. And that's solvable. And actually, that can be turned into biomass energy. That can actually be converted and used as energy.
Just like they did in Mad Max Beyond Thunder.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to get to Mad Max. That's what I'm afraid of.
I don't think anybody wants to.
I know, and that's my fear.
Although I will admit, the Thunderdome was pretty cool.
Yeah, but it feels as though you can see the world. I mean, look at Australia right now. The whole country's on fire, and we're headed towards it. And I think we're moving quicker than we even thought. But scientists recently realized, when these ice caps are melting, not only they're not just melting and raising the sea level and acidification of the ocean, but also carbon is being released in megatons into the atmosphere because it's sequestered in that space. So, anyways, it's a compounding problem that has to be addressed immediately. And I don't have patience for votes that aren't willing to do that. It's nothing personal with my opponent.
But you're not answering the one question I asked, which is, how are you going to beat him?
Sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
I mean, and all that was very good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I hear about that,
what is the strategy? How are you going to beat this?
So
guy?
let me start. This is a Democrat +6 district. It
Okay.
is the most flippable in terms of the metrics of any seat in state legislature. I have the fundraising to do it, and I have labor behind me in a big way.
Okay.
In a way that I was told by somebody in labor that this is the most labor they've ever seen behind a first-time candidate in their 30 years of being in the labor world. So we have a very strong coalition behind us. Labor. I have no corporate dollars. That's been mentioned before. It's just completely made up. But labor's behind me. We have the fundraising. We have a phenomenal team behind my campaign, and the wherewithal and the message. And the message is resonating with voters. And ultimately, that's what wins or loses elections: is having the people power and the message out there.
Do you enjoy the campaigning?
Yeah,
part of it?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, that's the best part.
Okay, that was a good answer.
Yeah.
Now, what I was looking for is how are you going to beat them with facial hair? They do.
I'm told this that I'm supposed to get rid of the facial hair.
Yeah. There is a statistic out there somewhere that's like, you know, if you have facial hair, you're less likely to
so maybe
win.
I have to do it even with the facial. I just can't not have facial hair, man. I look.
Well, I think you'd look like you're 12.
Young. So young, and that's not political. It's just my life. Like I don't want to look that young. And it feels right. Although I could trim it. It's usually shorter than this. I just let it grow.
You go for the Green Arrow close crop buzz, kind of like the shadow from the night before.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of the shadow with a little bit longer than
That's
that.
the hip look these days, man. Like. I'm told, at least.
And that feels good.
Yeah.
This is a little long.
I'm still caught up in the 1970s. So
yeah.
Anyway. But okay. Well, let's. I think we should have some fun.
Let's do it.
All right. So first question is: do you have any tattoos?
I don't have any tattoos, no.
None? If you're going to get one, where would it be and what would it be of?
You know, it would probably be a tribute to my dad. I've thought about that because my dad passed away 6 years ago, and it would probably be something to him, something house painting related. We grew up painting houses.
Oh, really?
That's nice. I grew up on roofs and painting houses. Something to that effect.
Favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero is probably... You know, Wonder Woman was pretty kick-ass. I would not want to mess with her.
You're showing your fantasies on women. That's
no, it's not like that. Strictly platonically kick-ass is what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, she was good looking in the movie as well.
My wife actually, full disclosure, had a golden lasso at the wedding. So,
that's awesome.
it was part of the dress. But anyway, and then let's see, Marvel or DC?
I'm Marvel.
Marvel?
Yeah, I'm definitely Marvel.
Because of the movies?
Yeah, because of the movies. Although to be fair, like I haven't dove deep into the comic books themselves, so maybe DC fans would be like, "You just don't know the comic books." That would be totally fair. I don't know them, but the movies.
No, the movies great.
Marvel's
Yeah. Favorite Beatle?
I think George Harrison.
Really?
Yeah,
Why George Harrison?
Because of the song "Something."
Sometimes it's a pretty amazing
I
song.
love that song.
Actually,
transformative.
I think even better is "All Things Must Pass." Beautiful song.
Okay, actually, I don't know if I'm familiar with it.
It's off his first solo record.
I'll check that out.
All Things Must Pass. It's just a beautiful. And when you put it into the timing of it was written right after the Beatles broke up.
Yeah.
It's just it's really a movie, and was the last song he played live in front of an audience of any type. He played it acoustically on VH1 actually, and then he died about 6 months later.
Wow!
So it's
all things must pass.
All things must pass. You know,
that's true.
And the darkness goes into day, day goes into darkness. All things must pass. You know,
wow!
It's really beautiful stuff.
And was it actually? Did he write it because the Beatles had broken up?
I don't know actually. To be honest with you, but it's an amazing record. When he released it, it was a 3-record set, which is unprecedented at the time, and it's very, very overproduced now when you listen to it, because it's got that Phil. I don't know how much you know about music, but Phil Spector kind of overproduced, kind of big wall of sound kind of thing to it. But some great songs. My Sweet Lord's on there, and a couple other great tracks. But,
right. Who's your favorite Beatle?
Who's my favorite Beatle? Yeah. John Lennon.
Yeah, okay.
It was by far. I can remember when he died, and it just killed me.
Yeah,
it just and which I think for a lot of people it's Kurt Cobain, that they feel that same kind of relationship when Kurt Cobain died. But favorite Kiss member?
I mean, I would give the obvious answer because I don't know Kiss that well.
What is the obvious answer?
Right? Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know them that well. I'm sorry. And they're Jewish, and I'm supposed to know that.
Are you Jewish?
Yeah, I'm Jewish. Yeah,
my wife's Jewish, so you should know that, because I think 3 of the 4 members are all Jewish.
We're supposed to take pride.
Well, I don't know how much pride you can take. I'm a big Kiss fan myself, but I don't know how much.
Oh, they're great. Like I have no problems. They're great. I just I'm not super.
To me, they're a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh man, that's a good question. So,
are you a Star Trek fan?
Ish, yeah. I grew up with some Star Trek. My dad watched it quite a bit growing up. I really like Star Trek. So like the Star Wars movies, except for I really wasn't. The Hayden Christensen thing just killed me.
No, the whole.
Oh my God, there's just the
sequels,
script and everything. That killed me.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go Star Trek because of those. But there's been some wonderful Star Wars movies as well.
Yeah,
and I like these.
Did you see the new one?
No, I haven't seen this most.
Okay, that's worth seeing. I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
So.
the expectations were very low, and then people came out and being like, actually, it's better than that. So
yeah. It's kind of. What is the first concert you ever went to?
First what?
First concert.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Really? What tour?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. But actually, we went just after, and this is on a serious note, but like my best friend and the other friend who both died listened religiously both to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they were in town like a couple months later, and so we all went.
Oh.
And we had this, and they did an incredible show, and then this crazy moment happened. Their names were Kevin and Travis, and there was a K and a T, and these like curtains flung open in this arena, and you could only see a K and a T from our angle where we were looking. We all saw it together.
Oh, neat.
And this was just a couple months, and it was so cathartic and meaningful. So that always sticks with me. That was 2004.
Oh, wow. That's like recent Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Man, I stopped listening in 93. So,
they're amazing.
No, they're not.
What, really? You don't like them at all?
No, I don't.
What, really?
No, look, I'm going to make some people angry with me about this, but I'll tell you this. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were amazing up to Mother's Milk, which is the last great record they did. Okay. After that, they've just been...
Okay, so you don't universally dislike them.
No, I love their earlier stuff, and the Mother's Milk was their comeback record.
Got it.
After they lost 2 members from the band. And, and I saw them on that tour, which dates me incredibly, but... and thought they were phenomenal. But the interesting thing is, I saw them on Saturday Night Live about a year later, and I really paid attention to how they sounded. Yeah. And it's like they're really intense when they play live. Flea in particular, but really they kind of.
I don't know. Maybe I'm an untrained ear.
I don't know.
I can get down with them.
My personal experience with Red Hot Chili Peppers was at the first show I saw them at. Chad, the drummer, stood up at the end of the show, took the drumstick, literally dropped his pants, shoved the drumstick up his butt, and then threw it out into the audience. And people went for it. So
that happened at a show. We have nothing like that at our show.
No, they're a little bit more restrained these days.
I missed out on all rock in the 70s and 80s, Ozzy Osbourne and all that stuff.
This is
89,
I think it was when that happened. So anyway, let's see, and what are my usual questions? Oh, let me hear your best evil laugh. Evil genius laughs.
I don't have a good evil genius laugh.
And then you need to try. Come on, man. You watch Saturday Morning Cartoons?
You do one first.
No, I don't.
Come on. I don't know.
Dude, I'm the host. This is my show. You do what I tell you.
I don't know how I would do that. I would say I'm terrible. Ha ha ha.
Well, okay, I'll take that. It's not great, but I've gotten everybody else.
I don't know how to do that.
Even Katie Hill and Christy did it.
Did they really?
Christy did a great evil witch from the Wizard of Oz. So,
How does it? You do it. Come on.
No, I'm not gonna do
I know you can.
Watch the show.
If you ask the question, I know you can.
Of course I can, but I'm not going to. I've embarrassed myself enough on the show. When Stacey Fortner was on the show, she actually encouraged me to sing Happy Birthday to her, and I have never stopped regretting it.
Did you do it? Yeah.
She wouldn't quit. She kept pushing it.
That's awesome.
How about a joke for us?
Oh. A joke. Okay, let me think here. I heard one recently that I actually really liked. How clean was it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter on the show, man.
Yeah, let me think here.
I mean, come on. You can say fuck. I mean...
So people cuss on this show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
I'd be honest with you. It's probably the first time I've ever cussed on the show. But, but you can't.
I'm really glad I got that to happen.
First time,
yeah. That's awesome.
No, but I mean, you can. It's, no FCC here.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. Okay. Why couldn't you hear the pterodactyl in the bathroom?
I don't know. Why not?
Because the P was silent.
Brilliant!
Hey! There we go.
All right. Well, Kipp, I appreciate you coming on the show. Did we cover most of the topics that you wanted to cover today? Do you feel like?
Definitely. I thought this was great. I mean, there's a lot of other issues I push consistently.
Yeah.
Making sure education's fully funded. I can go down the list of things I want to accomplish. But I thought this was great, and I love this medium. I'll just make one push that I think you're doing a wonderful thing here, and that we don't get to talk like this very often because you see it. Usually what we're doing is you have 30 seconds, solve homelessness,
Well, I mean, honestly, like one of the reasons I started doing the show was because I find that politicians are very eager to talk about anything for an extended period of time, and it was my chance to sit down with politicians one-on-one. It isn't about the audience. That's for the politicians that I'm sitting here talking to. For me, it's like I'm literally asking you what I think and what I'm wondering.
It's great.
About. So,
it's great, and it's wonderful, and it's a great opportunity for us and for the audience, and I hope you continue to do it because seriously, it's true. I do. I won't, if it's a personal decision of yours to make, you make it for yourself, but I just, for what it's worth, I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Well, we're going to go to show 150, and then from there we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I may go on a sabbatical for an extended period of time. I may do them once a month. I may come back in 10 years. We'll see what happens.
Well, if your listeners are listening, I hope they encourage you to stick around. One thing I'll just mention is I've got the Democratic Party's endorsement. I'm the California Democratic Party's endorsed candidate.
Okay.
I have the COPE endorsements, which means I have labor behind me, full scope of labor. That means we can win.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of supporters in the community, a lot of activists that are behind our campaign, and we've raised the money to communicate with the district. So we are the chance to win this seat. If you're a Democrat, you're interested in getting involved in some politics, please reach out to me. Any of you out there listening who want to get involved, we have a real chance to flip this seat for the first time. This is the most flippable seat in our entire state legislature, and so it's a tremendous opportunity. And I'm happy to meet any and all of you who are listening who want to have a chat.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Kipp at kippforsenate.com goes to my phone. I see it, like Kipp at Kipp for Senate. Kipp is with 2 P's.
Okay.
Kippforsenate.com is the website. Kipp for Senate on Facebook. It's the same, what is it?
And you respond directly to this stuff?
Yeah, I respond directly. It's me.
Okay.
And then if you reach out and say, hey, I want to grab coffee or do something else, then...
You make the time.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm
that's
down.
great.
I'm down for it. Maybe we can set something up with a group of folks. If you have some friends that you're, friends with who want to get involved in local stuff, just reach out. I'm down.
All right, sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, well, Kipp, I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Good luck with the election.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
I'm going to extend an invitation because I know Scott's listening somewhere out there. Scott's listening. Scott has an open invitation to come on the show before we go to episode 150. Scott, you know how to get in touch with me. Guys, hope you guys enjoyed the talk.
You've been listening to The Talk of Santa Clarita. Listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud.com, YouTube, and Stitcher. Barring a life event getting in the way, a new podcast is available every Tuesday. Questions, comments, and show ideas can be sent to thetalkofsantaclarita@gmail.com. You can also call or text us at 661-505-8672. That's 661-505-8672. Follow us on Twitter at The Talk of SC or on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Talk of Santa Clarita. You can also visit our website by going to www.thetalkofsantaclarita.com. This has been a production of Radio Free Santa Clarita Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To donate, go to radiofreesantaclarita.org/donate. Radio Free Santa Clarita, on the net and on the air, and we're very much aware.
Any questions?